Building a family legacy in restaurants is a delicate balance between honoring tradition and embracing innovation. Hey, and welcome back to the Pre-Shift podcast. It's DJ, your host, and today I'm joined by Avery Ward, the CEO of Little Italy Ristorante and the just opened Main Ground Coffee in Groveport, Ohio. Avery hopped on to talk about his journey from a reluctant heir working for Apple to a transformative leader who completely revitalized his family's 60-year-old business. I think our conversation was especially valuable because Avery just has a very practical approach to creating systems, getting himself out of the weeds, and freeing himself up from that daily firefighting, just so he can help grow the business. And he has. He's grown from 12 to 85 employees, implementing those frameworks and really learning how to delegate. And I think he has a lot to offer other restaurant owners who are struggling with, like I said, being in the weeds and wanting to grow their business, but feeling like they can't get ahead. And I think there's a lot of valuable takeaways for creating business that thrives, even when you're not there. As always, the Pre-Shift podcast is brought to you by 7 Shifts. Enjoy the show.
Yeah, thanks for having me. I'm so excited to be here, talk business, and give people a little pre-shift. I love a good pre-shift.
Yes, thank you. I appreciate you dropping the name. So I want to dive right into it. I'm not going to spoil the story. I think it's, you have a pretty fascinating story as far as how you came to be in the restaurant business. So I'll ask you a bit to tell me about Little Italy, the family business, and your journey to taking over.
Yeah, you got to rewind it back 60 years. 1966, my grandparents, Chuck and Janet, ventured through Central Ohio on a one last hoorah. They were about to have their firstborn child, and they stumbled across a little grocery store, hole-in-the-wall place called Smith's Market in downtown Groveport, Ohio. My grandpa went inside by himself to grab some drinks on that road trip, and a 45-minute-long conversation later, my grandma kind of got a little curious of what was going on in there. So she got out of the car and went inside and noticed he was talking with the owner. His name was Russell Smith, and that conversation turned into 4 hours, and they were offered to buy that business with the house right next to it, literally inches away. They went across the street to Huntington Bank the same day, took out a loan for $18,000 and purchased Smith's Home Market and the house that came with it next door. Raised my dad, his 3 other siblings in the house directly next to the business. Family roots in hospitality, grocery business, and restaurants very much so aligned that, you treat customers like family and your employees and you'll get far. And so my grandparents were very big on their core values. Building lasting memories within the community and creating connections that are worth sharing is what my grandma always said, was that if we can build a connection with somebody that they go out and tell others about, we'll be on the right path because word of mouth travels fast. So when people would come to the grocery store, they would get food to go because they'd stop over at grandma's house and see her and the kids, and she'd send them packing with all kinds of Italian specialties, raviolis and lasagna and the whole nine, and to go like clamshell containers. That became so popular that they decided, well, the grocery business was kind of going downhill because local grocer had finally come into town, the big major chain grocer, and they were obviously kind of put out of business from that. And so they decided to turn, my grandpa's grocery store was called Chuck's Little Giant. His name was Chuck, obviously, and they decided to turn that into a pizza place. So the Little Italy Pizza was born from the Little Giant prior. They operated the pizza place. My dad took over when his dad passed away in the 90s, early 90s. My dad operated the business for almost 40-something years. Took over from my dad officially about 5 years ago or so. Started the process about 8, but officially about 5. Big focus on customer service, hospitality, but also the experience for our employees is a big part of what we do and why we're where we're at. And so my dad, 40 years in the business, was very much so a do-it-yourself guy. You got to do everything and have your hands on the recipes, and you're the only one who can know the pizza sauce recipe because if your employees know it, they're going to steal it, and that kind of mentality. So I was raised in the business, 4 milk cartons stacked high, working the pizza line, making pizzas at 5, 6 years old. And the saying was for my dad that if you can't make pizzas faster than my 6-year-old, you can't work here. And so very much so ingrained in the business and how we treat employees and your customers like family. And so when I was 16, I was like, I'm not going to do this restaurant business stuff. Like I watched my dad in the business and him not get any time off and be stretched in all directions. I always say it's like Night at the Museum where Ben Stiller, the Till of the Hun, wants to pull his arms on all 5 directions. You're like, well, you only have 4 limbs. How is it 5 directions? Because they're grabbing the other one down there as well. It's yanking you in all places and just pulling you apart. Question, hey, help me with this, or show me that, or show me this, or, you got a customer over here that needs this. It very much so felt like that, growing up. And so we took 3 vacations as a kid. All of them were 3-day little trips because we had to get back to the restaurant quickly. It definitely was like, man, I don't want to live that lifestyle. So I was a huge technology person, very passionate about computers and software and development of software and just how all that worked. And so when I was 16, I actually landed a job at Apple, worked for them for about 5.5 years, and great experience, great company. I thought that was what I was going to do for the rest of my life and grow up in the Apple ecosphere. And 2015, my dad had a brain aneurysm. And so the business suffered greatly because he was no longer the only man, the superhero, right, that rips the shirt open, handle everything. When that happened, the business suffered pretty greatly. We had 4 options. Number 1, close it, which my dad and grandma refused to do. Number 2, sell it, which they refused to do. Number 3, go bankrupt, which they were about 5 to 6 months away from doing. And number 4 was Avery come back and take over the business as a 3rd generation. And so I refused at the time. I didn't really want to do it. And push comes to shove and thought about it longer and harder. And it just felt like the right move. I really saw that there was an opportunity to continue on that legacy. And my dad really had something great going, which was the way he treated his customers like family, and the employees that were just so beyond loyal to Little Italy for 20 plus years. And it just felt right to continue that on. And so while I was still working at Apple, I was doing everything from payroll to schedule and trying to manage all those things behind the scenes, finances, all that to keep it afloat, try and manage the managers from afar. And it just wasn't working. And so I decided to leave my full-time job and come back to the business. But I said, okay, Dad, if I do this, I'm going to do it my way. And I'm going to blow this thing up into anything bigger than it's ever been. He was reluctant into that statement, but here we are 8 years later. And we've done exactly that. So I'm happy to dive into that with you.
Yeah, absolutely. So that's kind of the crux of it. And I'm curious, that tech background, you mentioned loving tech and working for Apple and then coming back and modernizing things. So how did that influence your approach? What did you see coming back that you were like, you're really doing it this way? Like what opportunities did you really see coming back? And what were some of the first things you did?
From top to bottom, technology now is the integral part of what we do. It's tried and true. Everything flows through it. From the experience that we offer our guests. And when I say that, like our servers having tablets out on the floor and able to get their app sent right when they walk away, before they even walk away from that table on their final intro or on their first intro, right? And the apps are ready by time drinks hit the table. And so those flow out right after, right? And so being able to utilize the resources that are in front of us to make the experience for our employees better and our customers better is fourth in mind for me. And so 7 Shifts is a big part of that. Like our employee experience is huge to me. Where they get their information, the information that they can consume and how they consume it is really important. And so having that one umbrella ecosphere of information for employees, from time cards to payroll to schedule to communication to everything. It's critical that it's all in one place, and it doesn't feel overwhelming for an employee to consume the information that you need to tell them. And so having it all under that one hood for me has been an absolute game changer. But beyond that, all the other things that we've put in place, from Ovation for gathering customer feedback, to Toast Point of Sale being our main ecosystem, to Jolt being our checklist and accountability software that we use to hold our employees accountable to what we expect, to Trainual, to being able to train what we expect from top to bottom, set clear expectations, SOPs, processes, people development, who is in our sphere and what do they do has been important. Also, when it comes to technology, would be things, like 5-Out. We utilize a software called 5-Out. It is a forecasting model to forecast what our sales are going to be into the next 30 days to beyond, and down to item level forecast of tomorrow, I'm going to make 15 items of this random appetizer we're going to sell, but we're going to sell 300 of these large pizzas tomorrow, right? And being able to ingredient level forecast out what we need on hand to produce what we will sell has been insane. Utilize what's at your fingertips is what I'll say on technology. And there's a lot out there, and it can be overwhelming. And trust me, I've gone through the myriad to get to where I'm at today, but I feel confident in our tech stack that we have now for our restaurant.
Very cool. And what would you say my theory, or based on what I've talked to folks, is just, a time commitment, and you're constantly putting out fires, that day's fires every day in the restaurant business. So there's not a lot of time to really, honestly, even sometimes go back and reflect and think about where to improve things and spend time vetting these tools. So how did you find the time, or,
I've got the solution. I've got the solution for you. So all restaurant owners have to do is raise their hand and say, hey, I need help. If you have good people and you believe in the people on your team, they will step up and they will help you. And so the way that you do that without what I call crowning the saint and going, you are crowned, congratulations, You are a manager. You say, hey, I need help with special assignments. I have special assignments I need help with. Is anybody willing to help me out? And when somebody raises their hand and go, hey, I'll help, give them some things to do. If they fail, hey, thanks so much for your help. I appreciate it. This has been awesome. I'll let you know if I need anything else. And there's no feelings hurt. They weren't given a title and it's been revoked. They weren't given power and they no longer have it. It's, I need help. And so you'll find your people in DSP's land of, restaurant operations, we call it our implementer, our side-by-side person who can help pull that weight off of your shoulders as the operator. And so when you're doing everything and you have everything on your plate, you physically can't. But know that everything that you do is just a task. Everything from top to bottom is a task that you are doing in your business. I could do it. A mouse could do it if you teach the mouse how to do it. And so there's nothing special about you as an operator that makes you different from your employees. Trust me, you were just raised differently. You were just taught differently, or you've taken the time on your own to figure it out. And your employees sometimes don't have that drive and ambition. So if you can teach them your ways, your process, your how, your when, they will do. And then it just becomes as an accountability piece. You're the operator that holds them accountable to the standard that you expect.
Yeah, there's a lot to unpack there, I think, for sure. But it really comes back to just asking for help, right, from your staff. And I mean, when you say that, you mean like asking folks to help you vet tools or, put processes in place. And do you feel people are mostly receptive to that?
100%. If you have a good culture and you have people on your team who you've selected as the right fit, not just somebody who had a pulse check, if you're going through the right hiring process, everybody on your team will step up. If nobody steps up, you need to look internally and go, man, why did I select these people? Because you hired them, you trained them, you let them continue working for you. And so that's a big piece. Sometimes operators need to stop and look inside and go, I need to make a change.
What kind of changes did you make? And, you mentioned treating staff like family and hiring the right folks. And how do you maintain that culture? And what do you look for particularly in folks at Little Italy? Because you've also grown the team pretty significantly since you've come back to take over things. And what does that look like? And, what is it like in practice?
Yeah. So to give a peek behind the scenes of what this has been over the last 8 years of transitioning to getting to where we are and getting to a larger location and the sales that we do now. It started with a team of 12. My dad had 12 people when I came back to the business. And we now currently have 85 active employees, soon to be 95 with Main Ground Coffee. It starts by identifying what your company structure looks like. So we are firm believers in currently a business that operates on EOS, and the mindset of that. Everybody in our business has a place, right person, right seat. So we first identify what is the structure and the places in our business, what we need to have people doing. We look at the company as a whole, and we go through each and every role that we maybe currently have or we think that we do need, and we outline what are the key 5 to 7 simplified key responsibilities of these roles. And then we go through those roles and we think about the people in our business and who best fit for this role. And we identify if they're a right fit for the role based on our people analyzer. So we have our core values that we judge every single person in our business with a plus minus, which is like they kind of sometimes do it, or a minus, which is, hey, they never exhibit these traits. And we identify with our bar that we have set, this is our minimum standard that people must meet to work in our business. We identify if they belong in that seat or not. And sometimes it's a right person, wrong seat. Sometimes you've selected a person that's a culture fit for your business, but they're just doing the wrong job. Maybe they don't have the skill set, they don't have the training, they don't have the capacity, they don't have the drive or the want to do that job. If you have somebody who doesn't have the drive, they probably don't belong in your business, because if they don't have the drive, they're not going to have any role you have. But if there's somebody who doesn't have the capacity to do the job, sometimes you can fix that with giving them the capacity, maybe taking some things off of their plate or moving the support to help them or something, right? And so you identify your whole organization as a whole and all the structure inside of it. And then you work through all the people and putting them in the right seat. And once you start to fix that baseline fundamental thing, you start to get the relief as the operator, because all of these responsibilities that you're handling, you're now starting to clearly delegate. You're starting to set clear expectations for what you expect for every single role. And then your role as the operator just becomes the accountability metric. You're just holding people accountable to what you expect, but it's not the people all the way down low, because you've made it clear on all those jobs below you that there's what's called LMA, leadership management equals accountability. So by leading your team and being a great leader and holding development conversations and follow up and giving guidance and advice, plus management, your ability to hold them on track to what you expect and have set out that you expect, you will get accountability. And so through that simple process, you're going to get people in your business who are bought into the structure. They understand what their job is, how to do it, more importantly, by when. Expectations are set. They just need to be maintained. And so your job as the leader is just maintaining those expectations at the top echelon level of your managers. And then they have to do the same thing. They have to hold those standards and expectations to the staff below them for the people that they're accountable for. And so through that structure, relief starts immediately. We use a system called Jolt, and 7 Shifts I know has a checklist feature in it as well. I'm not going to blast you out and tell you why we don't use it, but Jolt has a little bit more of a fine-tuned ability to make your checklist clear and set your clear expectations. And I'll tell you, the only thing that's missing, DJ, is the character limit on the task name. That's all I need. If you change that, I can hold my people accountable to the expectations I expect. But 50 characters don't allow me to do that, right?
Sure.
Through Jolt, we define for every role their top to bottom expectation for their day. When they walk in to when they clock out, this is what's expected and exactly how you do all of these things. It doesn't say clearing the bathroom. It says grab this sanitizer in this bottle, spray the toilet and make sure it's 80% concentrated with the spray. Grab this rag, wipe the toilet until there's no streaks left. You can't see any residue. There's no debris left on the toilet. And then move on to the floor and spray it this way and wipe it this way. And it's very clear on what's expected, because now when we are that clear, when people don't do their job, we can just simply ask why, what was missing. And we look at the checklist and we ask ourselves first internally, is it an us problem? Were we clear enough? And if the answer was no, then it's an easy question for the employee. What happened? And it's a pretty hard way for them to negotiate their way out of why they didn't do it right, because you were clear on how to do it right. And so accountability becomes very easy at that point.
Yeah, and it's not like this kind of like, well, I showed you how to do it your first day. Why don't you remember how to do it?
Right. So I always translate that to the young dog that you're training, right? You just rub its nose in the shit. Bad, smack, bad, smack. This way, come outside. This way, come outside. This way, come outside. And how long does that take? But if a dog could read, maybe it would learn how to go outside and use the bathroom.
Yeah, that makes sense. And it's one of those things sometimes you have to, you're always kind of on day one when it comes to culture as well. Like you have to keep repeating these things sometimes though too.
7 times. It takes 7 times for somebody to actually listen and understand and memorize what you're saying. 7 times.
7 times, 7 shifts. That's right. I do want to, before we go on, you mentioned delegating. We talked a lot about, that relief as an operator. I want to hear, an actual example from you about someone that you found that you were able to, feel comfortable delegating a certain task to, that gave you some relief as an operator.
Well, building your checklist is the first one. If you're an operator who don't have your checklist in place, that's your first task that you can delegate. How do you get great checklists? You pick the great people in your organization and give them the first delegation task of what you expect. That is, hey, you're amazing. If I could have a piece of your hair, I would take it and find out how to get another one of you and probably 15 more, right? We beef them up. We tell them that. We let them know that they're great. We let them know that we want to copy them because we want to empower them to say, hey, what I do is the right way. And we want to tell them, hey, what you do is the right way. And we want to have everybody do this job the way you do. So what I need from you, I'm going to give you a $100 Amazon gift card if you'll help me out with this. What I need you to do for me is I need you to detail on this simple legal pad, yellow notepad. I'm going to hand it to you. I'm going to give you the pen. I need you to tell me what you do every day. From the moment you clock in to the moment you leave, I need you to tell me from top to bottom what you do, how you do it, and when you do it by. In the order that you do it is how you do, when you do it by, right? And they're going to come back to you with that legal pad. They're going to give you the whole list of what their job is and how they've been doing it, right? That's delegation number 1. You're going to do that for every role in your company. All your great people, they're going to do that for. Then you're going to get all these big legal pads back, right? This is delegation number 2. Your person who's raised their hand that's saying, hey, I'm willing to help, this becomes their first assignment. And that is, you give them all these legal pads. Hey, here's all this shit in our business that needs done. I need you to organize it, systemize it, and put it into this software. It needs to be clear. It needs to say what their job is, how they need to do their job. More importantly, by when. And that gets put in to your Jolt or 7 Shifts like software, and that slowly gets distributed to your employees. And now, the golden ticket for relief is when operators start to see that one person who they selected as their golden child start to tell people, that's not how we do it here. because they built the list. They have ownership over that expectation, and they let everybody know that that's not the way we do it here. That's when you start to see relief. And the biggest list that gets put on that, you have one yourself as the operator as a homework assignment. You go through the building and with a note legal pad, and you write down everything and anything that you can find that just pisses you off. From the crumb in the corner to the top wall baffle to the ceiling tiles that haven't been wiped. Maybe they mix in the sauce batch and it exploded and it's all over the ceiling. You write down everything because all those things you see are going to become side work on a daily, bi-daily, weekly, bi-weekly, monthly checklist that your people are paying attention to what you expect and the things that piss you off. And then guess what? When you miss something and you find it again, your lists are living and breathing. You go in and you add it. And now you come in 2 weeks and you look up and you go, there's never sauce there anymore. Good job. And you pat yourself on the back because you fixed another problem in your business and you just didn't let it frustrate you and fix it one time. You fixed it forever. My favorite one is the light bulb theory. A friend of mine, Darren Dennington, had this theory that he would come into his restaurant and he would see a light bulb out in the dining room and it would just piss him off so bad. And he was the only guy who was fixing the light bulbs, replacing the light bulbs all the time. He had 3 different brands of light bulbs in the closet. He had an Edison bulb and he had an LED and he had something else for this other special fancy fixture, right? And he's the only guy who knew this. He's the only guy that knew what light bulbs go where and so forth. And then one day he was like, I'm tired of doing this. And so he found a guy. It was his line cook. He worked the fryers and he said, hey, I need you to help me. Well, what's up, Darren? What can I do for you? I need you, every day you come in here, I want you to take something off my plate. This is something I do. It seems stupid, but it's so important. You explain the why. You explain the why it's important. We have an atmosphere where we want our guests to not pay attention to these small, stupid details. We want them to enjoy their experience, right? And you explain that why to the employee they need to help you out. When you come in every day, I need you to pay attention to all these light bulbs across the store. That includes the back of house. That includes the dining room. That includes outside. And here's all these fixtures. And oh, by the way, here's a little map of our store. And I put a little dot where all the lights are. And every day you come in, if you see one that's missing, here's a key. Only you have this key. This goes to the supply closet. You're going to go in that supply closet, and there's 3 different kinds of light bulbs. And here, by the way, on this piece of paper, I wrote down the picture of the light bulb and the different kinds of light bulb. And on that map, they each have 3 different highlighted colors, a red, a yellow, and a purple. And when you see that light, you grab the corresponding light bulb and you replace it out for me. Can you handle that? Oh, sure, Darren, I'll take care of that for you. Never had to worry about a light bulb again. But when he set clear expectations and he delegated the responsibility, and then now he's going to follow through. And when he sees a light bulb that's out, he's going to go, hey, fry cook, did you do that today for me?
And then if that guy does leave, then you have all the documentation. You can find someone else to do it.
Because you've set clear expectations. And again, if they can read English or maybe hold the words and have Siri read it to them, they'll do it.
So I'm curious, your role as an owner, coming back and making all these changes, do you feel like, is it constantly evolving or do you feel like there's you're in
Every
a good
day.
setup? Okay.
We're never done. We're never done. There's always work to do. And, when an idiot like myself who can't sit still and decides to open up a new concept, the whole timer starts over because I got bored because Little Italy was so in place and good to go and operating. Couldn't sit still. Most of the time, operators are so ADD and they're always looking for the next best thing because that's what we do. It's ingrained in us. It's the restaurant business. And so I got to a point where we had all these systems in place and things were firing on all cylinders, and we opened up a new store and expanded from 2,000 square feet to 6,000 square feet and hired 40 more employees, doubled our staff when we did it in 2023. And then a year later, we got all these systems back in place for the new business because I had them in place at the old restaurant. And I had to update everything for the new place, right? Because it was a whole different building, whole different layout, whole different jobs, expectations, all that. Got it all in place, and I'm like, I'm bored, time to open a coffee shop.
That's what I'm curious about. So other than being bored and you feel like Little Italy's in a good spot and you have time because you've delegated all these things and now you can grow one business into 2 businesses and an umbrella of, frankly, a restaurant group. Obviously, you weren't just bored one day and decided to do it. There had to have been, knowing you, a little more strategy behind it and thought. So take me down that. Why coffee? Why not another Little Italy for one?
So that's on the path, right? Our big, hairy, audacious goal in 2034, December 31st, 2034, we will have 5 operating Little Italy locations and be a $25 million restaurant group. We are already a good step towards that goal. We outline everything by the quarter. So we set clear expectations with our management team of what do we need to achieve this quarter to set us up for success to start achieving that goal that's 10 years away. We break that 10-year goal down into 5-year goals. We break those 5s down into 3s, and we break the 3 down into 1, and we break the 1 down into quarters. We identify as a leadership team how we're going to achieve this 10-year goal from a day-to-day basis, because every day the actions that we take today impact the goal tomorrow and 10 years from now. And so if we don't know where we're going, and that starts with me as the visionary who has all these crazy ideas and can't sit still and is the ADD operator that most operators are, then we're always looking for something else. And so sometimes restaurant owners, when they're the one-man band and they're operating like my dad, they can't think that way because they're stuck in today. They don't give a shit about tomorrow. I'll deal with tomorrow when I wake up at 6 a.m. I don't worry about tomorrow. I don't worry about next week. I am stuck in the 1 to 5 year range. That's where I'm at, and I'm always thinking 10. My GM, who's my second, below me, he's in next week through 3 months from now. And his counterpart, his AGM, is in now through next week. And the AGM's assistants, who are the shift leads and our front of house lead and our service trainers, they are today and tomorrow. And through that methodology, all areas are covered. It just starts rolling because everybody's worried about something that we need to be worried about. I'm thinking way out. Winslow's covering, hey, guys, be aware. And 3 months from now, we got to look at our staffing levels now because we're about to see a 30% sales spike because it's coming into our peak season. Summer's upon us. And, we need to prepare for that. So he's working on those big things. And then Cody's chunking those out and going, okay, this month is what we got going. These are the specials we're putting on the table. And I'm going to work with marketing. I'm going to get this done and that, right? And then the shift leads below him is, hey, today's service. Let's go, guys. Keep it up. You're doing great. Checking over checklists, setting expectations, being clear on them, holding people accountable. And then the team below them is right now, this second, what's happening? Tick, 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 tick. Making sure that service is on pace and happening the way it should.
So you have people laid out to cover every kind of, the hourly, daily stuff. And then, people are assigned different effectively periods of time that they're kind of responsible for thinking ahead to. And then you're kind of here, thinking about 2034, which you can't do if shit's not happening in the shop.
Correct. And trust me, it's so easy as an operator to get into a place like I am. It's possible. It takes work. It also takes overdrive. But really what it takes is having a great team of people below you who's capable and willing. And that's what it starts with. And it can be easy as a place like once you get to a place of where I'm at, it's easy to get back to a place, for me to get back to a place where you're at. Because there could be one day I come in and I see 5 things and I'm losing it. I'm like, how are we doing this right now? Why is this a problem? Why are customers getting certain? I can find it. Trust me, I can find it. And it's easy for me to get to that place of going, da, 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 and I'm right there with them. I'm in today, right now. It's easy. But always take that opportunity to reset for tomorrow and go, tomorrow's got to be different. Because if I keep doing the same thing today, every day, I'm crazy. Because you're not going to get the results that you expect. You're going to keep making the same mistakes, and you're never going to make change. So you asked me how we get to where we're at, and you asked me about the coffee shop venture, right?
Yep. Why coffee?
Yeah, why coffee? So every day on the way to work, I grab a coffee. There's a place, shout out to them, Pickerington, Ohio, 5 Bean Coffee. It's on my way to work. And as I get off the interstate, I jump over to 5 Bean, I grab myself a coffee, I get back on the freeway and head to work. And every day I went in there, I was always greeted with a smile, and it was truly the first part of my day that set the tone for how my day would go. And I'm telling you, when these people would put a sticker on my cup or a saying, man, the days, it's turned around, or it's off to a great start, right? And so I think back to the experience that we've provided at Little Italy and formerly Chuck's Little Giant for the last 60 years. It's been about consistently creating lasting memories that are worth sharing. In our tagline, it's since 1979, it's more than just pizza, it's our legacy, right? And so when I think about community and bringing people together and giving them an experience that's worth them going online or to their friends or to the PTA group and sharing about, we've done something right. And so coffee because a few reasons. Number one, I enjoy coffee greatly. Number two, there was a need in our community. There was a void there that the closest other local shop is about 13 minutes away. We are located in a very nicely populated downtown area, downtown Groveport. It's a little small town, not skyscraper downtown, but little small village downtown vibe, right? Great workforce that comes in through the warehouse and industrial district near us. And there's a need, right? So number one, there's an experience I can offer that people don't get. Number two, there's a need that needs filled. And number three, I have the capacity and the people below me to make this shit happen. This coffee shop is happening in our former building, our old grocery store where we...
The original.
Yeah, the original spot. Little Italy operated out of that building for 45 years till we moved out in 2023. I was looking for people to lease the building from me. I was going to lease it out. We were going to get a different restaurant or some type of concept to come in. Went through two different people, and it was such a long process getting them to get their plans and submissions and approvals and then go through contractors and find budgets and, how much is this thing going to cost me? Went through two of those, and both of them had dropped out because of the sheer cost that it was going to have on them to start up the business. Everybody has great ambitions until they get to reality sometimes of what does this thing actually cost me and do I have the funds to do it? And so I was like, I'm not going through that again. I refused. And we were thinking about what we could do with it because we had the capacity. We had all the right people in the places. And let's take something on. This can be a great step forward of managing multiple locations because we already had Little Italy, which was a great big location doing massive sales. We already did a food truck, which was like a second location thing. And we've got a catering venture going on. So that's been knowledgeable. But how about a different concept? What does that look like? And so just started the process. Year and some change ago, I started working through ideas and, landed on coffee because, hey, it's something I think I could do. I enjoy it. Mm-hmm. I see value. I see the thing we can bring our community. And then we started to work through names. And I'm huge with naming your business. I got a friend of mine, I'm not going to throw him out, but he was trying to rename this concept and he just kept throwing things out like this. Yep. And it had no connection to him and it had no meaning to him. Like, dude, you got to find something that has a meaning. You have to be passionate as hell about this, be able to talk with everybody about it. Because if you don't, it's just another place. So we named it Main Ground Coffee. There's actually, I think it's three. I'm going to name them off. It may be four reasons. But the first one is we're on Main Street. We're on downtown Groveport, Main Street. So Main Ground Coffee, right? Coffee gets ground up. That's number two. It's in the main ground. It's also our stomping grounds where we got started, where the family ventures got started. So it's our grounds. Right. And so that's three. So those are the three reasons why we need to coffee. Building those connections with the community through the same values that's been passed down through now 3 generations has been big. And so shout out to Mallory, my GM for Main Ground Coffee. She started with us as a server about 3 years ago and worked her way up pretty quickly to our service excellence trainer, hospitality trainer, training all of our new service team that come in and retraining expectations and all of that stuff. And then after that role, was quickly promoted to our first ever front of house shift lead, a person assigned for our front of house operations. We hit the ground running in that role. And when we opened up applications for the general manager at Main Ground Coffee, I really wanted somebody internal because I knew we had a great lineup of people. And we've been developing these people like crazy for the last several years. And she was one of the first ones to step up and go, I'm it. It's been great. She's been killing it. And I cannot wait to see her team in place and her operating. She's already hired everybody and she's using our systems and our methodology to its T and developing great people through the hiring process and making sure they're the right fit and really thinking through everything. And I cannot wait to see how she does.
That's awesome. So yeah, I definitely that's a good segue. I want to finish up by covering the YouTube and mentorship stuff. But before I go there, you mentioned Mallory and how great your staff is, how much you trust them, and they've enabled you really to grow this business. And you're working towards making Little Italy an ESOP company. Is that still in the works? What inspired that decision? And for those who don't know, that's employee stock ownership program. So employees can participate in the business's growth and earn stock or profit share, that kind of thing.
So that's a part of our VHAG 10 years from now. That's what we want to be. And so a big part of this whole journey is about sharing. Howard Schultz, which is the former CEO of Starbucks, says that success is only good if it's shared with many. Many restaurant operators are scared to talk about the word profitability. And it seems that I've found through a lot of conversations, I talk with restaurants all across the country. It seems through a lot of conversations, they feel almost a segment of guilt, that they feel guilty that they're successful, or they feel guilty that they're making more money than their staff, or they feel guilty that their staff doesn't have the same opportunity that they have. And I share in that last piece, which is the staff not having the same opportunity. They could go out and but they're going to need a lot of money. They're going to need a lot of backing, and they're going to need a lot of things. We can provide that. We can provide that path forward. We can provide a growth plan. We can provide an opportunity for them to step up and be the operator that they want to be, or be a general manager, or whatever the position. We can provide it. Like, we've got this structure, we've got this process, we've got this company, we've got this culture, we've got all of it. It's ready to go. And so an ESOP came up because I was thinking about multi-generational. I'm third gen, and I don't know what the next generation holds. But also, I don't want to force my kid into being in a business.
Look,
I don't want that to have to be what they do because I'm ready to be done. Right.
Sure.
And so I was thinking through it, and it just felt like a right fit for me, that the people on my team are who allow us to get to where we're at. They're who allow us to have the experiences that we offer. They're who allow us to open our doors every day. And it only felt right to have a business where we've been clear on expectations, we've been clear on our structure, we've been clear on everything. Why are we not clear that there's a path forward for them, both financially and possibility? And so ESOP came up that basically, instead of a 401k, which we offer our employees now with a match, instead of that, they can buy shares into the business. And so I, as the owner, would release a portion of the shares to be available to the employees. And instead of investing in stocks and bonds and high yields and all that through a 401k, they're buying into my company and buying me out. So that way I still own a portion, majority share, right? But employees are buying into our culture. They're buying into the business. But also, what does buying in mean? It means that everybody understands that their decisions that they make today have an impact of tomorrow, and tomorrow has an impact of next week, month, year, quarter, everything. And so financially, most of the time, restaurant operators, they get in this mindset of, my employees don't care. They don't have skin. They don't lose. I'm the one who loses. Well, yeah, you're the one who loses because they don't have to lose.
Right.
And so an ESOP was an easy way for me to give them that financial skin in the game, where they win when we win and they lose when we lose. And their decisions today impact that bottom line, winning or losing. That was why an ESOP. And it's 10 years away. It's 9 years since I'm counting away.
Sure.
But that takes us hitting our goals and getting those 5 stores up and running, and building a successful media company that we're working on now, and having our catering division hitting their goals, right? And so I mentioned restaurant owners hate talking about profitability. What oftentimes employees don't understand, or you're not clear enough with employees, is that you invested millions of dollars in this business.
Yeah.
I mean, our new build out was $1.2 million. That was cash, my cash that I've worked for and have built up over the course of 7+ years. Still have loans out for, and still have liabilities, right? And so we're not clear on that, number one. Number two, we have an obligation to run profitably for our employees. If we're not profitable, they don't get paid. We have an obligation to our community to run profitably. If we're not profitable, we're not open, and they have a place to go. We have an obligation for me and my family to run profitably, because we've worked. This is our livelihood. This is what we do. This is how we got to where we're at, and this is how we're going to get to where we're going tomorrow. You got to be clear with that is our why, and an ESOP felt right, that everybody's in on the why and everybody's in on the result of the why not. I'm excited to get there, and I think it's going to be a great thing for our company for sure.
Absolutely. It's an interesting way to think about, you mentioning your third generation. does the quote unquote fourth generation necessarily have to be your family bloodline, right? It can be people that have worked there with you and then they take over and then they can mentor that fifth generation or whatever it is. I mean, we're getting way past 2034 at this point, but
Exactly.
it doesn't always have to be family business. Doesn't necessarily always have to mean, same last name or same,
The people
same
that work
family
for
tree.
us are our family.
Yeah.
The people that come, we've picked the right people. Trust me, they stay. They're the right people, and they are family. And why are they not winning? And so I want them all to win. I want general managers at every role making more than six figures. I want my servers all leaving every day with $450+ in their pocket. That's the business that I want. And that's the business that we have and can provide and, can grow and scale. And so let's go, guys. Who's on? Because I was telling the train's rolling. I got that motherfucker on the tracks and it is rolling and I got the 3 engines on and they're running. So you either get out of my way or you get on the back of the train because we're gone.
Absolutely. I'll let that breathe for a second. I'm curious, you've been documenting, you have your weekly show on YouTube and you've been documenting the build out of Main Ground. And I'm curious where, one, what made you decide to, start sharing that and producing media? You're also doing mentorship for other restaurants. So what inspired you to share? And what has the reception and the impact been for you? And what kind of stuff are you really enjoying about it?
Absolutely. So, restaurant owners, you got to tell your story, the why you're in business, how you're in business, the people behind your walls that they don't see. You got to share those stories because those stories build up very important people in your community. They have families who come to you, who know about you. They have friends. And it starts with you. And it starts with you telling your story to everybody and anybody that you can. And so people don't want to support this business because it looks nice or there's a great logo or it has a great name or they have great food. They want to support you because you're you and they want to cheer you on your journey and they want to celebrate your highs and they want to help you through your lows. And so we created Slice of Life to tell our story. It's a weekly vlog. It's on YouTube. Is our most infant one that we're growing right now.
Sure.
Facebook, Instagram, and then we splice it out into some TikTok reels, and TikToks and reels and YouTube shorts and all that. But we tell our story every single week. We tell them about the people in our four walls. We tell them about what we're doing in our community because restaurant owners all the time take care of their communities and it never gets highlighted. We donate the local team meal, or we give gift cards to this charity that's happening or whatever. We'll share it. Last week's episode, we went to a prison ministry where they had a spaghetti dinner to raise funds and we shared it. We told about the ministry and why we donated spaghetti to them. And we had a guy on the vlog who was incarcerated for life and turned his life around quite literally through the help of this ministry and got out. Those are shared stories that are important. We also share what's going on in our community and what we're all about. And so we highlight our vendors. We have a secondary series that we do inside of Slice of Life called Groveport Greats and highlight people in the community, other businesses sometimes, people who are doing really great things for our community, right? We also do a vendor partner. So next week's episode, we're going out to one of the bakeries that produce all of our buns for our restaurant. And we show the whole behind the scenes for that because people want to know where the food comes from. People want to know the people making the food and stuff. So you got to share your story. You got to tell your story and get out there and be all about it. And so we're coming up on episode 52. I think 2 weeks from now, maybe. I think it's 52. We're getting really close. And we've been doing it consistently once a week. And I tell you, man, when we had that New Year's Eve episode come out and it was a flashback on the vlog and rewind for all that we've done over 2024, I've probably never been more proud than that moment watching that video and just seeing my life unfold on camera. It was really cool because I don't often stop and celebrate the accomplishments.
Yeah. You're full steam ahead.
Yeah. And it's hard, man. Trophies start stacking up behind you and you don't even care about them. But being able to stop and watch that, what Nathan, my creative marketing director, put together was really, really cool.
That's awesome. Yeah. And I'm sure you've got a great response from that. It's super cool to take a look behind the scenes. I don't think enough restaurant folks do it. I think we talk to a lot of people that do, so it seems more common than it is, but there's a lot of room for people to share, especially now on social media. And I still think restaurants are the ones that have a lot of room to grow in that regard.
People want to support you. People want to get behind you and rally you. And that's what we see every week. I mean, every week we get about 30,000 views between all the platforms. And we build a great following with it. And people look forward to that Wednesday episode.
Absolutely.
And they're always commenting on there and sharing what they liked and, pointing out different things. And I would say a group of people to really rally behind you and share those wins and help you through the lot. It's been really great. It's been really great to have.
Well, Avery, when is the coffee shop open?
So today is the last day of construction. So as soon as this call is over, I'm going to go check back on where we're at. It is training on Monday of this week. So February 10th is our first day. And we will soft open to the public on the 12th. So
excellent. So we'll be it will be open.
Coffee is open. It's successful. It's doing great.
The line is out the door.
Yeah.
Right. Awesome. Well, Avery, thank you so much for joining us today.
Yes, thank you for having me, DJ. I appreciate it.
Absolutely. Take care. Thanks again for checking out this episode of the Pre-Shift Podcast. If you enjoyed it, please leave a review and share it with one of your friends to help our show grow. We could not do it without your support. As always, I would love to hear what you think about the show, or let me know if you want to be on it, or if you know someone that you would love to hear on it. You can email me directly, dj@sevenshifts.com. It's also in the show notes, and I look forward to hearing from all of you. Talk to you next time.